Maybe growing older was never the tragedy. Maybe refusing to grow up was. Reset. My name is Michael. I'm a 50-year-old man who is leaving my wife of 25 years for a woman who is almost the same age as my daughter. I know what that sounds like. Midlife crisis, gold digger, daddy issues, blah blah blah. I never meant to fall in love with Ashley. She was my co-worker, and this was her first job since graduating college that year. I had been at the company for over 20 years, and my boss asked me to mentor her. She was sweet and funny and looked up to me. Little by little, mentoring moved from my office to restaurants to hotel rooms. We had been doing this for 6 months. I tried to ignore the fact that she still lived at home with her parents. I ignored the fact that she still went dancing every weekend with her friends and still attended concerts. I listened to her tell me about her friends' dramas, struggles, and poor decisions. Sometimes I found it ironic that she was the same age I was when I met my wife, Mandy. I met Mandy at my friend Greg's birthday party. She was standing in the middle of the room, but I couldn't see her at first because she was surrounded by admirers. She was beautiful in every way. Her hair, her smile, and her body. I knew I was looking at the woman I would someday marry. I think she sensed I was looking at her, and she turned to look at me and smiled. 2 years later, we were married. I couldn't believe I had pulled it off. No one could believe I had pulled it off. I was nice looking and in pretty good shape, but she looked like a model. In the beginning, we were happy. We traveled to beautiful places and watched horror movies together on our living room couch. We hosted dinner parties regularly. We went to expensive restaurants, and we made our home our castle. Then one day, Mandy came to me with tears in her eyes. "What is it?" I asked worriedly. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. She waited. I smiled and grabbed her and hugged her. "Pregnant?" I lifted her and spun around. "Are you happy?" she asked hesitantly. "I know we said we would wait." I kissed her. "I am so happy." Our beautiful Bella was born later that year. It was a tough pregnancy and an even tougher delivery. I did my best, but Mandy was tired, emotional, and in pain. She would snap whenever I made a mistake or didn't anticipate her needs. If I sat down to watch a game, she would demand that I take care of our crying baby. When I got home from the gym, she would hand me the baby before I even had a chance to shower. When the baby cried at 2 a.m., she would wake me up to bring the baby to the bed because she was still recovering. After a while, I got irritated because it seemed like I didn't have a minute of peace anymore. I started going out to watch the game with my friends because I couldn't stand being at home. It was messy, loud, and my wife was demanding. We got through this period in our life, but we never got the fun, carefree years of our marriage back. Our life became filled with cartoons instead of horror movies, and our pristine living room was scattered with toys. Our vacations were to Orlando, not Europe. It was exhausting. I started counting down the days until Bella became an adult and our lives would go back to normal. Then Mandy got pregnant again. She was sitting on the bed holding the pregnancy test when I walked into the bedroom one night. My heart dropped. Bella was 5 years old. She had just started school and now we were starting all over again. Mandy looked at me. "Are you happy?" The same question she had asked me the first time. This time I just sat next to her. "What do you want to do about it?" She looked at me, stunned. "What do you mean?" I hesitated. "I mean, do you want to keep it?" She looked at me as if I were a monster and then stood up and went into the bathroom. I remained where I was. For the next few days, we existed in the same space but didn't talk. I felt like something had changed that couldn't be fixed. I couldn't help how I felt. I wanted our old life back, and now it seemed impossible. Don't get me wrong, I loved Bella, and when my son Dylan was born, I loved him too. But every day was worse. Tears, tantrums, toys, doctor's appointments. There were no more expensive restaurants, no more dinner parties, and definitely no sleeping late on days off. We lived like this for years. Eventually, the kids became teens, then college students, and finally, we had some peace. But Mandy and I had grown apart. She still talked about the kids and other boring things. I listened, but was always accused of only half listening. We didn't fight. We just didn't click anymore. That's when I met Ashley. Being with Ashley made me feel young and old at the same time. Young because we did all the things that Mandy and I did when we were first married. Old because my body didn't cooperate with the late-night partying anymore. I got careless when it came to hiding my affair. I think I wanted to get caught so that I could finally be free. I came home one day to find a suitcase in the front entryway. I walked into the kitchen where Mandy was sitting at the table waiting for me. She had a manila envelope in front of her. "What's this?" I asked her, already knowing. "Sit down, Michael," she said. I sat. "These are divorce papers," she said flatly. "You wanted out? You're out." I didn't say anything for a while, then finally asked, "You know?" She looked at me. "You're not exactly subtle." "Mandy," I started. "No," she interrupted. "I don't want to hear it. After everything we've been through, after a whole life together, there is nothing you can say that can make this better." "I'm not trying to make this better," I explained. "You know that things haven't been good between us for a while." "And whose fault is that?" she asked sharply. I was surprised. She seemed to be blaming me. "Ours," I said. "We grew apart." "We didn't grow apart," she said. "You checked out. From the minute I got pregnant with Bella, you checked out. You resented being a father." "That's not true," I protested. "It's just you spent all your time on the kids. You never paid attention to me." "I spent all my time with the kids because you wouldn't," she yelled. "You watched me run myself ragged doing the job of both parents, working a full-time job and trying to make our kids' lives happy and complete. And you followed along like a toddler being punished." I opened my mouth but couldn't think of what to say. "That's not true," I said again. "I love my children," I protested. She sighed. "It doesn't matter anymore. I'm done with you. You want to make a fool of yourself with a child? Go ahead." She stared at me. "She's 23 years old, Michael. What's wrong with you? How long do you think she's going to stick it out with a balding old man who cheats on his wife?" "I'm not old," I said weakly, "and I love her." I was silent for a moment. "I'm sorry. I never meant for this to happen. But Ashley and I were spending every day together, and it just happened." "It just happened? Magically?" she asked sarcastically. I didn't respond. She stood up. "How many men do you think proposition me on a regular basis?" "What?" I asked. "Michael, look at me. I'm attractive and successful. How many times do you think coworkers, friends, and even strangers have made a move on me?" I looked at her, startled. I wanted to say something, but nothing came out. "And yet, somehow I managed not to cheat on you, magically." She stopped, tears shining in her eyes. "I loved you, Michael," she continued quietly. "Even when you stopped loving me." She then composed herself and changed her tone. "But you know," she said, pretending to contemplate something, "now that I think about it, I married you so young that it's probably time for me to play the field for a while." She grabbed her purse. I looked at her. She was still beautiful. How had I not seen that? She had changed since our first years, but she was still a beautiful, mature woman. "How long do you think I'll be single, Michael?" she asked. A strange feeling stirred inside me. Jealousy? I still didn't respond. Instead, I looked down at the papers. "You've already signed them." "Yes," she replied. "I'm done." I nodded slowly. "What about the kids?" She laughed bitterly. "The kids are grown, Michael. They still need their father," I argued. "Father?" she scoffed. "You checked out a long time ago." "That's not fair," I snapped before I could stop myself. She stared at me. "Not fair? Do you know what wasn't fair? Raising 2 children with a man who spent every second wishing he was somewhere else." I didn't respond. She looked directly at me. "Tell me, what did I do to deserve this? I spent 25 years trying to make you happy. I made excuses for you because I wanted to believe you were still the sweet, considerate man I married. but you haven't been that man in years. You're a selfish, entitled man-child, and I hope you get everything you deserve." She turned away. The words stung. In all the years we had been together, I had never seen myself as anything but a good husband and father. I had sacrificed so much for my family. The room became painfully silent. "I never meant to hurt you," I said to her. "But you did," she said softly. Mandy started to cry but then stopped herself. "I spoke to the kids last night. They need time before they want to talk to you." "You told them?" I asked incredulously. "Yes, of course," she said plainly. "Why?" I asked. "Because it's the truth. You're not ashamed, are you? Because soon everyone will know that you cheated on your wife, the mother of your children, with a 23-year-old. "I'm not ashamed," I said. "I just wanted to tell them first." Well, too late. Mandy walked to the living room and I followed her. "I'm going to my sister's. I'll get the rest of my things when I get my own place." She picked up the suitcase. Her own place? This had been her home for 25 years. Every inch of this house had her touch on it. How could she talk so casually about leaving? "Mandy," I finally said, "I'm sorry." She looked directly at me and said flatly, "I don't care." And she was gone. True to her word, Mandy picked up everything that belonged to her the following week. I got home around 6 and the house was empty. She left a folded note. I opened it expecting a long, sad letter. Instead, it had the name and number of a lawyer. Hers. Mandy was moving on. No conversation. No tears. No mercy. I stood alone in the kitchen for a long time after that. For the first time in years, I looked around the house carefully. The pictures on the walls were all moments Mandy had built for our family. Birthday parties, vacations, graduations, holidays. I was in those pictures, smiling like I'd been present, but I suddenly realized how often I had simply existed beside my own life instead of truly living it. I thought about all the years Mandy spent exhausted while I complained about not having enough attention. I remembered every soccer game she attended alone, every school meeting she handled, every late night she stayed awake with sick children while I slept. At the time, I had told myself I deserved more. I counted the days until freedom. I imagined being able to watch television in quiet and to spend my money on more important things than piano lessons. Now, sitting in that silent kitchen, I wondered how I had convinced myself that love was supposed to remain effortless forever. Ashley texted me while I sat there. "Are you coming tonight?" I stared at the message for a long time before locking my phone. For the first time since the affair began, I didn't feel young. I just felt old. The next months passed quickly. I did something tremendously stupid. I moved Ashley into my house. I told myself it was easier this way. Her parents knew she was moving in with a coworker, but when they showed up on the doorstep to surprise her, all hell broke loose. Her father took one look at me and punched me in the face. Ashley started screaming. Ashley's mother tried to pull her husband away while he was screaming that I was a pervert. All the neighbors came out of their houses, and phones started recording. The police came and things calmed down, but Ashley's parents were determined to get her to move back home. They contacted our employer, and I had a meeting with HR. While technically not against company rules, the optics of the situation were bad and fueled gossip for weeks. Ashley stayed with me. At first it felt exciting. We stayed out late, drank too much wine, and laughed constantly. It felt like I'd gotten my youth back. But eventually, real life settled in again. Ashley wanted to go dancing after work while I wanted to sleep. She talked about social media trends I didn't understand. Her friends looked at me politely, but I could tell they wondered why she was with someone old enough to be their father. One night, I caught my reflection in the mirror while Ashley was entertaining her friends in the house. My hair was grayer than I remembered. The lines around my eyes looked deeper. I went downstairs to find them drinking in the kitchen. It was 1 a.m. and I had work at 7. "Hey, babe," Ashley slurred happily. "Come take a shot with us." I'm going to bed, I replied tiredly. I just came to say goodnight. Her friends exchanged glances. Ashley frowned. You're no fun anymore? I stared at her. Ashley, it's 1 a.m. So? She laughed. So I'm tired. She rolled her eyes dramatically. God, you sound ancient. Her friends laughed awkwardly. I felt humiliated. My children came home for Christmas break and found Ashley in the house. They didn't even unpack. They stayed with their grandparents since Mandy had a 1-bedroom apartment. I tried to talk to them, but they said they would be in touch soon. They weren't. It felt like my life was spinning out of control. But I worried that if I told Ashley to slow down, she might realize she had made a mistake, choosing me over her parents' wishes. Meanwhile, Mandy and I went through mediation. We agreed to refinance the house, and I would buy Mandy out of her share. She kept everything that was hers, and I kept everything that was mine. During the negotiations, we were in separate rooms, but I saw Mandy as we were leaving. She looked great as always. When we were married, she would switch to sweatpants, a t-shirt, and a ponytail as soon as she got home from work. I had forgotten what she looked like in a slim black skirt, white button-down blouse, and heels. Her makeup and hair were perfect. We were parked near each other, and it seemed awkward not to say anything. Hey, I said gently. She looked at me. Michael, she said coldly. So, it's over, I guess, I said. I know you don't want to hear this, but I really am sorry. She nodded as she opened her car door. Okay, she said. I struggled for something to say. You look great, I blurted out. Thank you, she answered. I haven't seen you dressed up in a while, I babbled. I willed myself to shut up, but I felt I needed to fill the silence. Okay, she said again and climbed into the car. Take care of yourself, Michael. Wait, I said, grabbing the door. The kids are ignoring my calls. Could you ask them to call me, please? No, she said plainly. The kids know where you live. If they want to talk to you, they will contact you themselves. Mandy, I hesitated again. Mandy, I don't know how I got here. I don't know what is happening to my life. Mandy's face relaxed a little, but her words were still devastating. You got here because you decided that you deserve better. You wanted nonstop excitement and attention. You wanted me to raise our children alone, but still have time and energy for you. Michael, you're here because you earned this. With that, she closed her door and drove away. I got in my car and went to a local dive bar. It was a place I'd escaped to many times during our marriage. Whenever I didn't want to deal with family drama, I came here. Many nights, I sat at this bar waiting for my wife to put my kids to bed after a rough day. I thought about our early years and wondered how things had gone so wrong. After an hour or two, I headed home. Ashley was home by then, and thankfully she was alone. She walked up to me as I put my coat away. I turned and hugged her. I have some news, she smiled. A deep feeling of dread hit me. I'm pregnant, she squealed, hugging me again. My name is Michael. I am a 50-year-old man who left my wife to start a new, exciting life with a young love. Now I'm a 50-year-old man who has just reset the clock. I will be 69 years old when this child leaves home for college, if I make it that far. I listened to Ashley brainstorm baby names and tried to figure out how to tell her parents. I smiled at all the right times. I was going to do it all over again. It was my penance for my selfishness. I know that I may not actually love Ashley specifically. I think I loved what she represented: youth, freedom, adventure. But as I listened at this young woman so excited to be starting this chapter of her life, I knew I would stay with her. For the first time in years, I stopped wondering what I deserved and started thinking about what I owed.
Thank you for listening. If you love storytelling, follow along for more tales of drama, romance, the supernatural, and suspense. New stories are added regularly. This story is entirely fictional. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental.